Okay, let's get started here. Can you guys hear me? Just type in yes if you can. Awesome, welcome. How are you guys doing today? Having a good day so far? Ready for the weekend yet? We're gonna be getting storms here probably in the next hour. So hopefully I won't have any interruption with that, but you know how that goes. I've been in the middle of lectures and storms hit and the lights go out and everything gets a little crazy, but I do have my, oh, it's hot there. Not ready for my stepdaughter to be out of school yet. Oh, yeah, school's gonna be ending soon. Gotta get prepared for that. Getting hot everywhere. I think that's why we're getting all these storms for sure. I don't know. I'm kind of excited about summer for sure, but I don't like these rainy weeks we've been having. We've been having a lot of rain and just kind of goes with the territory of the heat and humidity, I guess. But I do have my computer plugged into my my backup battery. So I have about 10 minutes on that before I lose all power. So at least I'll have some warning if the lights go out. Gonna be a very hot summer this year, yeah. I don't know, I'm kind of ready for it. I wouldn't say that if I was living in Florida, but yeah, I'm definitely ready for it. It's been pretty cold up here in Pittsburgh. So, you know, the humidity can definitely stay away. I can deal with that being away from here. Oh, my internet is not a backup, no. But my power is at least, you know, my computer won't be fried, so I'll at least have a little bit of a warning before, you know, it's not going to be like a total shock to my computer system, so I won't lose anything. But yeah, I will definitely lose internet. So, but hopefully that's not going to happen. I think we're just a little storm's going to come through. So, but I have had that happen. I've had lectures like cut in half because of power. It's very rare, but it happens. I've had students, the same thing happen. Just one of the things that happens. And I've had the power go out for no reasons. So it's one of those things. All right, well, welcome to week 3, session 1. Yeah, it's just one of those things, I guess. And I can't believe we're like halfway through the mod here. Can you believe that? I just feel like I need at least maybe another 2 more weeks. I always say that. I need 2 more weeks to really get in as much as, you know, we can get into this class or into the classes that we teach. But, you know, I guess the good thing is they are very condensed for you guys to get out of here sooner so you guys can start your career. So I guess that's a good thing in the long run. Yeah, a couple more weeks would be nice, huh? Catch-up weeks. So what did you guys think about your projects last week? Did you enjoy your kind of experimenting with the different abstract photos and contrast photos? Oh, 10 more classes. That'll go quick, Lily. Not up to it yet. It was fun. I'm going to sneeze here, guys. Hold on, let me mute the mic here. You don't want to hear me sneezing. It's kind of loud. Oh, yeah, Lily, that was so cute. Congrats on your new litter of puppies. Very cute. What's the, I don't know if you told us what the breed was. Her little, her dog had puppies recently, and she documented that through her project. It almost looked like, not a Shih Tzu, but what are they, Lhasa Apso, Havanese. Take some good abstract pics in preparation though. Yep. Okay. So Maltese, Shih Tzu, and Dad's Maltese Poodle. I thought it kind of looked like that. Very cute, very cute. Well, hopefully the mom's doing good. Yeah, it was neat to see kind kind of the subjects that you guys chose for last week's projects. And it was also really, it's all, this is why I love teaching photography, because everybody's pictures are different, you know, and it's neat to see not only into your world, but your perspective of how you take your pictures. I don't know if that's, you know, you're going with the instructions of the class, but it's kind of interesting to see you guys experimenting with how to come up with each solution for that. So exhausted, yeah. Somebody had, I think it was Marla. Marla, welcome, Marla. I see that you got in here. Asked about seeing student work from this class. So I pulled some stuff together here, and I didn't pull everybody's examples. So if you don't see yours on here, don't feel like, oh, you know, mine wasn't good enough to look at. I just pulled a few that I thought were good to talk about and, you know, take a look at here. So let's take a look at some student examples. If I can find them, I just put them in the folder here. Okay, so we'll take a look at some assignment 2 and assessment 2 student pictures here. Let me open up some of these. Okay, so this first example that I'm going to show you is from Ashley. And Ashley did, let me open up her. She did the situation example where the lighting, you were taking pictures throughout the day, but keeping the subject the same and just taking the pictures during different times during the day. Oops, making a selection here. Okay, so these are a little, I don't know if you guys can see this. It's a little mixed up in the order of things. But this was before 8 a.m. And this, it's crazy because it doesn't even look like it's before 8 a.m. to me. But it's all very situational to, you know, kind of what is above the frame here. And it looks like it's in a wooded area overlooking this little walkway here. So this is the 8 a.m. and all through these pictures are the same shot for the most part. It looks like the camera shifted slightly. But here's mid-morning. Here's noon. Here's mid-afternoon. Here's early evening. So it's really interesting because to me, some of these look different than what they should. I don't know why, but I guess it's just how the lighting is. I can see the sun kind of through the middle section there for the early evening, but the noon one almost looks like an evening shot to me. I think it's the warmth of the sun. So it really depends on, you know, what's going on with cloud cover as well. But, you know, it's definitely, oh, sorry, I just muted myself. Just very interesting to see the time. Yeah, and the angles are slightly different. I think if you don't have your camera propped up on the same spot, like say, you know, you're moving it as you're taking these pictures, which is easy to do because you don't want your camera sitting there. If you're not living wherever you're taking the picture, you don't want to sit there all day. And you don't want someone to take your camera. So obviously it's going to shift a little bit. But that was Ashley's. I thought that was kind of cool just to see the differences with the color changes, the mood changes. Okay, let's see here. Oh, I'm in the wrong thing here. Sorry about that. This one was kind of interesting. This was Charity. Let me open up Charity's. Charity did different directions of light situation here. So open this up. So for instance, this was the glamour shot image, and you know, basically went all out with this one with, you know, even being the part of the glamour shot. So definitely next time they should try to mark their spot with, yep, exactly. Yeah, I mean, that's in regards to that, that's something that you can definitely think about, different tricks that, you know, try to keep your camera in that same spot. Here's the whore. So the glamour shot is basically the lights that are coming from above, casting that direct light. The whore shot, light coming from below. And this particular image was composited. The ghostly image in the background was kind of added as a composite to kind of enhance it. Yeah. That wasn't part of the instructions, but this was an added feature in there just to kind of enhance it. And then the silhouette shot, which I think a lot of us can do by accident. So this is probably one of the easier ones to do. You know, maybe it wasn't something that was easy to do once you had to. But the silhouette shot with the light being in the back of the subject. Okay. The next one is Michael's. And I thought this was kind of, exactly. And again, different lighting techniques based on where the light's coming from here, the lighting angles. This would be the whore shot, the little kid here with the light from below. This is the side shot with the light on the side of the face. Yeah, pretty neat. And then, and these are all kind of a little low res here, so it's a little hard to see. And then this one was the object, the shadow effect here. Let's see here. So the object threw kind of like a shadow effect on the face. Kind of freaky. So pretty cool just to see your subjects and how you went about kind of capturing, you know, those different situations that you chose. Okay, I'm grabbing the other ones here. Hold on one second. So the other ones are from assessment. Like I said, I just grabbed a couple here. So Marla, this is your assessment 2. I'm going to show here. And for this one, you guys had to do specific things to each photo. This one was photo composites. You did 2 of them. This was 2. I thought this one was probably the better of the 2 just because I thought this was kind of interesting, but I think this looks a little bit more realistic if you're thinking about having these 2 images blended together. I think that definitely looks like, you know, part of that image originally. Let me pull this together so I can actually see the chat area what I'm doing. Very cool to see. Did you guys enjoy this compositing one? I think this is, once you start getting used to that, it's really fun to play around with. And yeah. And then also adding the presets in Lightroom. A lot of you guys did a great job with that. It was kind of neat to see different filters you guys decided to use. Yeah. And then I did see a lot of you guys try different techniques for the background for this one, you know, cleaning up not only her overall face, but also applying the background, different backgrounds. So it was kind of neat to see you guys experimenting with that. Good job. Okay, this next one is Ashley's. Ashley, oops, this is opening up Photoshop here. Hold on. I didn't want to do that. Give me 1 second. Oh, is it awesome, Nick? Yeah, I think you can really get into playing around with compositing images together in Photoshop. I think it's just one of those fun things to do here. Okay, I guess one of hers is a PSD file. So I'm just going to open up the 2 JPEGs. All right. Really? Okay. It's not going to open up the other one. Okay, so I'm just not going to even worry about that. It's not really happening here. Okay, I'm going to open up Gwendolyn's instead because I think this one's kind of messing with me here. Is this Gwendolyn's? Hold on, guys. Yes, this is Gwendolyn's. The last image is a PSD file, so I'm not going to show that, but I thought this was kind of cool. The two composited parts of this image, and you know, it works very well together. Yep. And then this is a different, same picture that you just last looked at, just a different preset. So two different feelings, two different moods from that, you know. Kind of interesting to see the differences. All right, and then I have a lot more from this week, so give me 1 second here. I keep losing my folder. You guys did a great job on the assessment, by the way. It was pretty impressed. Okay, lilies, I have lilies, and then I'm gonna let the PSD go just because I don't feel like opening that up right now here, just two different programs. Okay, and this is lilies. Lily, you did a great job. I like the fact that you kind of skewed the butterflies here to make them look like they're flying away, you know, and so you did a great job with that as far as, you know, the first one appearing like it's closer to you, to the person that's viewing it, and then flying away. Great job with that. Yeah, so different, leaving the cave, yeah. Great job with that. And then this is the other image where you are putting a preset on here, which I thought was great. It's like a sepia tone, duotone type of a look here. Great for a family picture for sure. It's that timeless classic look to a very rich, kind of like a black and white, but softer. Okay, and the last but not least, Michael's. And let me open up his. And like I said, if you didn't see yours up here, don't feel like you know, failed or anything. It's just that I just picked a few here. I thought this was cool because not only are they compositing, not only is Michael compositing the image, but adding words to this, which you didn't have to, but I thought this was kind of interesting. You know, verbal, supportive, verbally, and typography wise, kind of all goes together very nicely. Here's the preset of what appears to be kind of like a grainy black and white. Has a little bit of a texture to it. And then the last image here. So great job, you guys. Very, very cool. I will be showing your work throughout the classes here. I think now that we're getting into the more detailed projects, this will definitely be helpful for you guys just to see each other's work, especially since we don't have a communal place to, you know, share your work. Yep. You know, and I guess that's one thing I can add if you guys are interested. I can add a just like an optional discussion board, and I can add it to one of the weeks in the classroom so you guys can give each other feedback if you want to post your own work up. Is that something you'd be interested in? It would be like, it would be called an optional discussion board or critique board. Okay. And that would just be, I'm not going to, I mean, I'm definitely going to go in and look at it, but I probably won't be like, you know, I'm not evaluating your work there. It's just for you guys. All right, I'll do that after class. Sounds good. Does anybody have any questions from this past week? Or anything you want to talk about? No? Okay. All right, guys, great job. I'm excited. A lot of you guys seem like really, like you're really digging this class, so that kind of makes me very excited too. All right, so just a couple reminders, announcements, reviews. Week 3 work overview. We'll be talking about editing and printing this week. Angles and framing. Oh, Lily, good. I'm glad. Angles and framing, and then we're going to probably, like I've done before, kind of break apart the 2 projects. So we'll have the assessment 2 we'll look over today with the discussion, and then tomorrow we'll look at your assessment, or assignment 3 and then assessment 3. Stats, not so much, yeah. Yeah, I think photography, I think this class is nice because it's a nice blend of the techniques and the methods, but then also as far as like shooting the photograph from the start, and then also like the Lightroom, darkroom experience afterwards. And it's a nice blending of all of that. It's not just like heavy into one part of the process. Yeah. All right, so as we go forward, just a little review here. You guys played around with image size, resolution, and megapixels, kind of learned about that, and then also kind of were mindful of this with your projects last week. So hopefully you guys got a good handle on that, because it's super important to understand how to resize images, not just for photography purposes, you know, for getting a nice printout, but also in design. So if you're not really sure of how to do this, this is super important. You could be sending out low-res images that aren't quite the right DPI or pixels per inch. Pixels per inch are what it is in your program, and then when you go to print it, it's called dots per inch. So it's kind of the same thing, but called 2 different things once printed. So dots per inch is pretty much on the printing end once it's printed. The higher the resolution, obviously, the more sharp and better of a quality image that you're going to get, because you're going to have more dots in that image, or pixels in that image. So understanding that for printing purposes is really important. If you're talking about on the web, you know, if you're preparing an image for the web, you know, obviously you don't need to have it to be that high. It can be 72 pixels per inch and you're going to be okay. So there's reasons why you would use lower resolution, but to understand the differences and how to, you know, resize the image appropriately is very important. So, you know, we talked about the resolution of images and pixels and or printed dots per inch that were used to create it, and the purposes of each. Screen resolution, pixels per inch, and print resolution is measured in dots per inch. We just talked about that. So they're used very interchangeably depending upon the context. So for print graphics, 300 dots per inch is standard, and for web, 72 pixels per inch is standard. And if you attempt to use a web image in print, you will run into problems. You know, also note that there's no way to add pixels where there aren't any, or generate extra pixels to be able to use your Facebook cover image print quality. This is often what clients do not understand. I can't even give you the number of times I've had clients give me low-res images off the internet or from a source that they had and say, you know, can you blow this up to poster size or a billboard? And it's like, you know, they're giving me a JPEG low-res small image, and it's like, this isn't going to work, you know. And exactly, you're not a miracle worker, but you guys will definitely run into this. Exactly, Nick. Yep. Exactly. You definitely will run into this because clients don't know. This is why you go to school. This is why they hire you. So the discussion this week is how do you approach that situation? You know, how do you tell a client this isn't going to work and why? I had a lot of you guys start the discussion out with showing visual examples to the client, which is awesome. I think Marla was the leading discussion person this week, and she had posted about how she would actually show the client the differences. You know, what a better way to do it is to show the client, you know, what it's going to look like. Hey, if you want your image to look like this, I can use it, but it's not going to look good, right? So, I mean, you kind of have to be very crystal clear, direct to the clients. They don't know, they don't know what they don't know. So they're coming to you for your expertise, and you need to kind of guide them. And, some of them might be like, oh, I don't understand. This is all I have. I can't give you any more. Well, understand this. You can use that, but it's not going to be, it's not going to come out nice. And, a lot of the times you don't want your name on that type of work either, because you don't want to be known to be a designer that uses that, and that's okay. So, yes, exactly. So if you're designing with photos, providing your printing company with the correct high-resolution image for printing is the best option. Talk over the imaging needs your printer will require, so high-resolution photos, vectors, outlines, and place the correct files. So it could be like PDF, EPS, TIFF files, with the work going into the printed piece. This is the only way to ensure high-quality printed material. What's super important about this is every printer is different. For the most part, you have general guidelines of what you should use when you're going to set your files up for print and what you should send. But not every printer is the same. They may require you to send a high-res PDF instead of a TIFF file. So they might have different specifications. That's why it's important to make sure that you guys are on the same page. So yeah, you guys are funny. I'm kind of keeping up with your talk here. So as we go forward, we're going to be looking at kind of switching gears here. I love this. I love the fact that, playing around with different angles. I am like a huge experimental person with this. I think angles can really, different camera angles can really accentuate or change the look of something. So this week, you're going to be experimenting with this. So the angle of the camera relative to the subject is what we're talking about. So camera angles affect how the character and the scene are perceived. So there's three main angles that you can play around with. There's the eye level. This is the most common view. Being the real world angle that we are all used to. It shows subjects as we would expect them to see them in real life. It is a fairly neutral shot. So it's pretty much eye level. And then you have the high angle. So a high angle shows the subject from above. For instance, the camera is angled down towards the subject. This has the effect of diminishing the subject. Think about that, making them appear less powerful, less significant, or even submissive. So, if you're not looking for that to be portrayed visually, you might want to think about, how that may visually portray something if you're not looking for that as far as the overall look of it. Low angle, this shows the subject from below, giving them the impression of being more powerful or dominant. Nick, you said one of the pics I took, I did the high angle exactly for that reason. Wanted to show someone in the light and in the darkness, still feeling down and alone, but trying to be in the light. Yes, perfect. Yeah, so not only is light a factor, but your angle of the camera is definitely a huge factor in the overall appearance and how you're perceiving that image. Think about all those, going the opposite way, the low angle. Think about all those camera shots of people, of strong men holding their, I don't know, for some reason I get this picture in my mind when I think of low angles. A big guy kind of crossing his arms, and you see the camera angles from his feet all the way up towards his head, and he just appears very powerful and the power dominant look about the image is definitely communicating that. Okay, Lily, no problem. Yep, they do it in movies a lot. Yeah, a lot of videography, in videography, it's the same idea, the camera shots, in commercials too. I mean, think about not just digital photography, but camera angles in commercials and videography as well. Like a strong bouncer that's about to boot you out. Yep. And, products can be shown like this too. There was a Gatorade shot that I showed in an ad that they showed from, it was a view from below the bottle, and it was to make them look like a strong boxer, you know, but it was a bottle of Gatorade, and that camera view was just making it look like it was more dominant. And that's exactly what they wanted that product to communicate in that specific ad campaign. So let's take a look at this, and you guys let me know what you believe. Take all of those images have a specific letter next to them. So see if you can figure out which picture matches each shot. You have the medium shot, the close-up, extreme long shot, and extreme close-up. So what do you think the medium shot would be? C? Okay. What do you think the close-up would be? D. Good. What about the extreme long shot? E. Good. Long. And then what about just the long shot? B. Good. Welcome back, Lily. We're just looking at this. And what's the extreme close-up? Last but not least, right? A. Good. Yeah, so these can be categorized in these terms. So definitely A. Yep. So think about that when you're shooting your images for this particular project. Here's an angle of a statue from below, looking up, and a nice silhouette. Different angle there from below. Here's one again from, you know, say the camera was put in the grass by the flowers, kind of getting a different shot from below. And also at an angle, it's tipped. You know, when you have something at a diagonal, it gives, you know what, let me see if you guys know this. If you do any type of designing or even photography at an angle, what does it do to the image? I mean, as far as the composition goes? It lengthens, interesting. Does it feel stagnant or give it motion? Adds interest, yes. Yeah, so giving a diagonal to it gives it motion, asymmetric, I should say, more than symmetric. So you have that asymmetric look to it. And that's kind of interesting when you design for a more youthful audience. Your elements can be asymmetrical because that's showing unbalanced, no stability. It's giving it motion and movement type of a look, as compared to stability being, you know, rested in one spot. So this kind of is a neat different angle, and not only position of the camera, but also the angle of it for this subject. Here's one kind of peeking around the corner and at the same eye level as the child. So this photographer probably, or this person that took this, yeah, I love the belly, is probably, you know, bending down to get this shot. Not only peeking around the corner, but bending down, kneeling down to get this shot. Again, a high angle. And this is to make the little girl appear weak and scared. This is from Matilda. So if you were looking to, do you ever see those? I've seen pictures, say, of adoption ad campaigns where they show the dogs in the cages, or they look down on the dogs. Yeah, to make them look like they're sad and forsaken, pulling the heartstrings. So different, yeah, me too. Different angles. Here's another one. Yeah, I know. It's like when Sarah McLachlan comes on to the TV channel, you like instantly turn it because you know. Yep, exactly. You know, and not to change the subject, but if you think about it, you know, it's good that they're raising awareness, but if everybody's changing their channel because they don't want to see these sad dogs, is it really kind of working? Is there other better ways to do it? Nick says it's possible to reverse that though. If you use that angle on someone you know is not so sweet and innocent, it can make them appear more scary because you notice the deception. Yep, exactly. Well, for instance, this image here almost looks like the fallen angel, right? And she may not be as innocent as you look. So it's kind of giving that two-folded thing there, two-sided, I guess. So thinking about the angles, you know, think about how you can capture the subject in a different way. So we talked about angles, and now we're going to talk about framing. And I think this is really, really, really cool. I think this is something I enjoy trying to do outside when I'm experimenting. So framing is using a portion of the scene to block out other parts of the scene or frame the main subject, thereby drawing the eye and attention to a specific point in the scene. It can be anything from a window to a tree branch and does not need to extend the length or height of the photo. Oh yeah, Nick, I saw that. The use of framing within an image, I think I went in and corrected all those, or I will be. The use of framing within an image is used to give the photo context, show where the photo was taken. It gives the photo more depth and layers. It can help lead the eye to the main subject of the photograph, similar to lines, and it adds interest and intrigue to the photograph. No problem, yeah. Yeah, it was. Some of those are a little wonky, So framing can be another interesting way, and here's some examples here of some framing. Yeah, I didn't see it either. Yeah, so I'm glad you guys brought that up. So framing is another way to capture an image in a more interesting way. Here is I don't know if this is like a castle or maybe a fort or some type of structure that was built a long time ago. And it's framing kind of a nice little tower there as part of the focal point. Is that what it is? I see a little cross there. Yeah, maybe an old church. Here's one where the tree line kind of frames the top side parts of the image, and the middle focal point is brighter, and the two subjects are walking away with the umbrella. Everything else is kind of vignetted. I like to say vignetted because it's darker around all the edges. Tree framing is really cool. You can do some really cool stuff with that. Plus, it's all around you, you know? Go outside, find something that you can frame, even if it's like posing a subject. Here's one with like an architectural man-made structure. I don't know what this is. I'm not sure exactly. But it's framing this cacti kind of silhouetted in the background in the sunset or sunrise, depending on what time of the day it is. But it's kind of a neat, you're having the organic structure versus the man-made structure kind of coming together. Here's another one looking from the inside to the outside. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? So that could be definitely an option where you're kind of looking through, you know, a window that has some ornate, organic type of structure about it that gives it a more interesting look. If you squint your eyes, it becomes almost like this different element. It doesn't become a picture anymore. It becomes like a textured shape. So it's kind of neat. You know, even just doing something as simple as this is kind of a neat way to frame a subject. And what would be really cool is to see the same thing with her hands blurry and maybe her face in focus. Oops. So think about this as we go forward. We're going to go and look at your week 3 learning objectives. Do you guys have any questions about anything that we went over just now? And a lot of this has to do with what you're going to be going over this week. Nope. Okay. All right, why don't we take a short break here and then we'll go and take a look at your week 3 objectives in your discussion, and then we'll go right into your assignment. Does that sound good? All right, guys, 5 minutes. I'll meet you guys back here. Oh, okay, guys, sorry about that. I actually had a phone call come in and I had to answer it. All right, so what are you guys saying here? From what I've heard and read, oh, okay. You guys are talking about some stuff here. Good. Okay. I missed. Oh, okay. I missed a couple things there. Aw, very cool. Very, very cool. I know my hands are full with one. I have a 4-year-old. Definitely am very busy with her, so I couldn't imagine having two. Yeah. Although I am recently divorced, so I only have, I'm almost like a single mom. So it's a little different, but good luck with that for sure. Let me start sharing my canvas here. Oh, wow. Yeah, it's just one of those things that happen, I guess, Marla. Thank you for that. Definitely isn't easy, but life is life and life goes on. So I am definitely happier, so that's a good thing. All right, so let's go forward here. Let's go into week 3. Take a look at some of the learning objectives you guys are going to be walking away from this week. We're going to be discussing how to direct a photo shoot by identifying the goals and requirements of the shoot, identify and apply an individual expressive vision in a photographic composition, define and discuss 4 principles of advanced digital photography techniques, define and apply 4 approaches to photographic composition, and discuss industry standard components for print quality digital images. Oh, okay, good for you, Marla. That's a long time. So pretty much what we're going to be going over this week is what is in your learning objectives here. Let's go ahead and take a look at your discussion. A lot of you guys are already kind of getting this started, which is great. If you haven't started yet, definitely start thinking about what you're going to post before Wednesday by midnight. You like the quote? Which quote is that? You mean for week 3? You go back to that. What's that? Week 3. Essentially, what photography is life lit up. Yes. I like that too. It's true though. I know nowadays, I don't know about you guys, but I take thousands of pictures within like months with my camera. So it's so hard to figure out which ones to print out. Like, it's kind of overwhelming after a while because you have such such great access to taking pictures because you have your camera with you if you have that ability. Oh, congrats, Nick. I'm sure it'll be fine. I'm sure you guys will be great. Okay, so this week's discussion is about editing and printing. So definitely read through the background here. It's going to kind of talk about differences between Lightroom, Photoshop, and then also, kind of differences between RGB and CMYK. I actually, thank you for asking that, Marla. I actually just started feeling better a couple days ago. It hit me for probably a good 4 days. So I was really, really lucky. It didn't I had fever and chills. I was down for the count for 2 days, but it never got to my nose or my chest. So I was pretty lucky. Yeah. But I think I kind of, I think I got other family members sick. Yeah, thank you. I was kind of hoping I didn't give it to my little girl, but yeah, it wasn't fun. I'm not sure what the heck it was, but it definitely put me down for a while. Well, you guys heard me the last time I was in the discussion. I was not feeling good. It's really hard to do. I've done discussions where I've lost, or lectures where I've lost my voice. That's really hard too. but being sick, you know, and doing those live lectures can be very, very challenging. Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, I think that's probably why I got sick, because it's been kind of an emotional week for me, but it's all good now. So it just opens it up to all kinds of things. So yeah. But I'm good now. I just started working out again and everything's looking up. So yes, exactly. I hear you. Okay, so this week you will research some of the different editing and printing options and the requirements involved as it relates to digital photography specifically. So explore and discuss the following 3 scenarios. So you have a client who's providing you with an image you need to retouch and apply a sepia color effect to for use in a magazine ad. Discuss which application you would use to edit the photograph and why. What tools will you use to apply the required digital effects to the image? Think about that. You know, are you going to be placing it into Lightroom? Are you going to be going into Photoshop? And why? Which one would you choose and why? Okay, so that's Marla's answering right now. Number 2, this same client has come to you with another image they want you to use and apply the same effects to use in a second ad for the same campaign. The image resolution of the image is 72 dots per inch and the image size is 2 by 3 inches. How would you explain the issues of the image resolution and print to your client, and what options would you give them for an alternate solution? So think about, you know, would that work for the ad? You don't really know what the size of the ad is. So that's really difficult to answer this. I would definitely have this changed to say the ad size is, you know, 8.5 by 11 or a full page ad. And that would give you a little bit more of an indication, as well as the image being the main focal point. You can use a low res 2 by 3 inch image, and it could work if it's used only at 2 by 3 inches in print. So that's why I'm kind of bringing that up. So let's pretend that for number 2, that they're talking about, you know, a full page ad, so 8.5 by 11, and they want that image, that low res 2 by 3 inch image, to be the focal point. So it has to be bigger than 2 by 3. So it's a little bit more vague than what it should, you know, it definitely should be a little bit more specific to that. Number 3, finally, briefly describe what your workflow is when you are setting up a design file for print, which includes an RGB image. What are you looking for? What issues do you look for? And what printing options do you consider before saving the files? And how do color modes, image resolution, and output affect your design? So the key to this one is for print. Yeah, it's 2 by 3. Yep, same size. So the key for this is print, you know, and RGB. When you print, what do you want to convert your image to? What color mode? CMYK. And why is that? Printer's ink, yeah, because the printer plates are CMYK, they're not RGB. Yep, exactly. And typically, if you don't catch that and you send it to the printer, they will definitely let you know. It might be costly to convert. They might do it for you, but definitely catch that before, you know, before it becomes an issue. And, you know, it's just good habit to understand, you know, why you do that. So talk about number 3, you know, just briefly describe what your workflow is for number 3. You can bring in, you know, obviously you want to bring in a citation. I believe you have to have at least 1 reference, so, or 2 APA citations and a reference. So bring in something to support that. Just, you know, it could be just an article that you're kind of grabbing some information to support your perspective and the facts that you're placing in there. Just make sure when you're placing in those citations and you're quoting from an outside source that you're not just ending with that, you're ending it in your own words after you cite it. So that, you know, you're using your critical thinking skills and not just copying and pasting the facts. Yep, and the colors might change. Good point, Nick. Yep. Yeah, because the color gamut, like the color range is different for RGB than it is for CMYK, for sure. Any questions about that? Nope. It cannot be more than 20%. For what? Oh, of the quote. Okay. Yeah, you know, and that's another thing, like as far as calibration is concerned, everybody should use the standard calibration on their monitors so that we're as close as possible to, you know, our colors are all pretty close in comparison. But, you know, clients, you don't know what monitors they're using. Us designers, we're a little bit more in tune with those things, and also printers, but um, it's always going to be, it could always be an issue. Yeah. Shows that you understand it. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, so I think this is just getting you prepared to start thinking about the upcoming assessment, which we'll be going over tomorrow. And let's just, I just really quickly here before we get into your assignment 3 details. Your assessment 3, which we'll be going over tomorrow, is something that you're going to be working on for next week. Marla, there is a universal setting that you can set all monitors to when you calibrate. And this can be done through Adobe, like for instance, like Photoshop. I mean, you can get pretty detailed in the calibration process. I remember when I worked for an art agency in Akron, Ohio, many years ago, there was a guy that he was a graphic designer. He worked on my team, and he would strictly just like calibrate all of our monitors. But it was like a whole day process where he would actually put a blanket around his head and the monitor so there was no light coming in. And then he would go through the whole calibration process step by step. Now that was many years ago, so it's a little different now, but you know, it definitely can be, you can have people do it for you or you can do it yourself, but there's a universal setting that you can set your monitors to that everybody on a PC or a Mac will be pretty much on the same color level when they look at their monitor. Yeah, that's, and that nowadays, now we have different types of computers. It's not just lab, you know, it's not just stationary desktop computers. We have laptops, we have, you know, tablets, and, you know, even our phones. So, I mean, when it comes down to color checking, if you have a client that's really super picky about colors and you're not using Pantone swatch colors, which are pre-mixed inks, then you'll want to do a color proof from the printer before it actually goes to print. And they'll just send you a color proof, one color proof. It'll cost you, but it's not really expensive. But it then you can show the client what it's going to look like instead of actually okaying it on the screen. $10.80. What are you asking, Marla? Are you asking me that? Oh, that's the pixels that you view your actual screen in. So that'll affect the size of your elements on your screen. Let me see if I can show you real quick. Okay, so what you can do is go through the Apple menu. If you're on a Mac, it's through your system preferences. So let me stop sharing here. Share my desktop so you guys can see. So system preferences, and then I would go to display and then color. There's also a way that you can do it through Photoshop too, like different programs. Okay. Yeah, I don't have a PC, so I'm not real familiar with that, unfortunately, but I'm sure you could probably, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, I don't really know PCs as well. I mean, I've been on PCs, I've worked on PC, but as far as color calibrating, let's see here. Let's see if I can actually find it. Maybe I could find something. It says you can click the start button and then the control panel, search for calibrate display in the control panel, and click calibrate display color. So it's just a different way of getting that. For a Mac or PC, Lily? So Windows, you would click start button and then control panel. Search for calibrate display color. I just found this. Here, let me give you this link too, because this looks like a really good source. And this shows you both, I believe, PC and Mac. I believe so. Just found this link here. It's like there's music here. Yep. So that link will definitely make you, it's easy. It has like step-by-step instructions for both Mac and PC. So Mac, you would go up to your Apple on your menu bar and choose System Preferences. And then I go to Displays. And then once I go to Display, there's three little buttons, Display, Color, and Night Shift. I go to Color. Okay, let me go back here to assessment 3. Okay, so we kind of got off point here, but hopefully that helped. All right, so just kind of a heads up, we'll be going over this tomorrow, but this is basically getting you ready for what we're going to be doing in next week. So you're going to be choosing a client. You're going to pick one client to work with, but kind of what I'm showing you this for is because we just talked about getting your files ready for different ads, and this is kind of what you're going to be doing. You're going to be shooting a photo shoot for a particular client and a particular project. So kind of a heads up there. I have color LCD on mine selected. There is a way you can calibrate your programs too, like Photoshop. So that you're on the right universal type of color mode here. All right, so let's see here. Once I get that up, I'll show you here, kind of like flipping back and forth. All right, let's go to your assignment 3. Let's take a look at this and let me know if you have any questions here. If you want to, I could post some information about that as far as your Adobe programs and how to calibrate that in announcements this week. Okay. Okay, so basically what we're going to be doing, okay, no problem, is we're going to be talking about, we just talked about angles and we talked about framing, and this is basically what you're going to be doing. So read through all of this, all the stuff that Ken and we went over today. I'm going to go right to the prompt here. So this week you will try out both of these techniques to create, so the angle and the framing technique, to create a clear focal point in original images. So you're gonna have a couple parts to this. So part one is your angles. You're gonna choose a subject. This can be a landscape or object or an individual for a portrait. Take several images of your subject utilizing the different angles listed above, taking care to compose the image so that your subject is the clear focal point. And then you're going to submit 2 to 3 images from this series of shots along with documentation, so minimum of 50 words, of how the angles change the perspective of the subject and which one you think has the most well-defined focal point. So the angles, and let me scroll back up here, that is being described here are ones that we talked about. So you have the eye level angle, this is a portrait, the eye level angle of the landscape, the high angle, so you're kind of having it shot from above. Here's with flowers and with a little kid here. You have the low angle, so you're setting the camera on the ground or on the floor and shooting up. Here's flowers and the actual person for the subject. Framing. So we actually didn't get to framing yet. So but that's angles. So that's angles, okay? Part two would be framing. So choose your subject. This can be a landscape or object or individual for a portrait. Take several images of your subject utilizing the framing techniques described above. Submit 1 or 2 images with a clear focal point utilizing this technique along with documentation. Minimum of 50 words again on what your subject is, how you frame the subject and composition, and how did purposely using this technique change the way you compose the image. I don't know why I couldn't read that. So basically you're going to, just explain in each of those, showing each of those examples, why you did what you did and how that changed you to compose the image. Create a 2-page spread using either InDesign or Illustrator to showcase your images and the documentation for each part of the project. So you're going to be not only shooting this yourself in these techniques in different ways, but you're also going to be saving them to place into a spread, 2-page spreads. That means, if you're thinking about 2-page spread, it would be 8.5 by 11. So it would be double the width, right? So it would be 17 by 11. And you can do this in InDesign or Illustrator. So design it in a way, it doesn't have to look like an article, but it has to be readable and easily viewed. So think about how you would compose this with your copy. You're going to export the 2-page spread as a PDF for submission, and then you're going to name your file as such. So you can make it look like an article if you want. It's completely up to you. But choose a grid system so that you're organizing your information and your images nicely. Make sure your images aren't too small when you view them. It'd be nice to have them so that you can actually see them. So you'll be showing angles and framing. Yep, exactly, Marla. Here's framing, landscape framing. Here's one showing with a fence here on the outside, inside looking out. And then you have the natural framing with the trees here of the wedding photo, and then the rock image here. So you're using natural frames. So you don't necessarily have to have people posing in your shots. You can be framing something that's already there. I would say try to not touch up the photos, as far as I wouldn't composite things together. If they need to be enhanced as far as maybe color correction, you can do that, as long as it's more natural looking and not extreme. But you definitely can enhance it if you want. you know, changing the levels. Yep, yep. Good question. All right, so any other questions about that? I have a quick video here that I wanted to show you guys, just kind of talking about tips for when you go out and do a photo shoot. And then I have a website that I want to show you too that kind of goes over framing techniques. So let me get this ready here.
You take really great photos. Have you ever thought about focusing your camera skills? You know, you should take. This tutorial is brought to you by Photographer Overnight. Today we're going to talk about common mistakes to avoid as a beginner photographer. Photography is always a learning process. You've got to constantly be trying to improve your work and make it better. If you're watching this, you're already on the right track and trying to improve your work by watching tutorials. From the beginning of my photography career, I was constantly educating myself about how to improve, whether it was learning more about using my camera or learning how to improve pictures with programs like Photoshop and Lightroom. Looking over some of my old work and comparing it with my recent stuff really makes me realize just how far I've come. And I'm sure if you've been in photography for a while, you'll notice the same thing. So I wanted to share with you a few of the biggest mistakes I made as a beginner so you can avoid making them. And I'll also share the most important things I learned along the way that have improved my photography by leaps and bounds. When I was just starting out, I would get going in a photo session and forget to change my exposure when the sun came out from behind a cloud or when we went into a shadier area. If you're shooting like this, you'll know what I'm talking about. You'll think you're getting awesome shots, and then you'll realize there goes the last 20 images. When you get home, you end up losing a good portion of the pictures to under or overexposure, and sometimes trying to save them because you think they're good, and it doesn't really work. There are 3 huge things you can do to avoid this problem. First, it took a lot of reminding myself to make a mental note every time the lighting changed so I could change with it, and regularly check your images after you take them to see if you need to make a change. The next thing you can do is slow down. A lot of beginning photographers don't really know how to pose people, so they spend more time just snapping pictures and hoping they'll get some good ones by the sheer quantity from the session. Take the time to frame your image so that it looks good, and pause to tell your subject to do something differently if it's not quite working. Learn posing tricks from as many sources as you can, and check out other photographers' work to get some ideas. You'll find some posing cards on my website at photographerovernight.com. Most often you'll have subjects who have no idea how to pose and aren't going to give you good candids by just standing there. Learning how to pose them, even if you're faking a candid pose, will increase the amount of good photos you have to work with. This will also save you from having thousands of wasted images, and the wear and tear on your camera will be so much less when you take the time to get a good image in your frame rather than clicking like crazy. And finally, the most important improvement you'll ever make is to start shooting your images in RAW format. If you're shooting in JPEG, you probably want to ignore this advice because it seems so much easier to just keep doing what you're doing, and learning a whole new format and having to figure out the whole RAW editing process sounds totally overwhelming. But I can honestly tell you that this was the #1 change that improved my wedding photography. And yes, I was dragging my feet about switching over, but the difference is completely amazing. Let's take a batch of images, for example. If you had taken these images in JPEG, you'd either have to throw them all away or try to brighten them with Photoshop and have a really grainy final product. If you'd taken this same batch of images in RAW format, you'd be able to change the exposure in such a large spectrum, you hardly ever have a lighting change big enough to make you lose your images. So there are some really important things you can do to improve your portrait sessions. #1, pay attention to lighting changes and always check your images after you shoot. #2, slow down and frame your image properly. #3, learn how to pose your subjects. And #4, take the jump and learn to shoot in RAW. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial, and check out more of my free tutorials at photographerovernight.com.
Okay, so kind of some interesting advice there. It's just a little quick video kind of neat to see. You kind of learn from mistakes from other people and yourself. So I thought that was very helpful and things to keep in mind. All right, let me see here. I have one more thing to show you guys. Any questions about that video? Interesting. Yeah, about posing and all that. It's, you know, when you actually go out with the subject, it's hard to, sometimes it's the subjects, they don't know how to pose. So it's something that you need to kind of keep in mind and study kind of what postures are the best, what to avoid, a lot of the, you know, things to avoid as far as certain poses. I mean, there's expert advice on how to give a good selfie out there. So, I mean, I'm sure there's, it's kind of crazy what's out there nowadays. All right, this article I thought was kind of cool. I'm going to give you this link here in the chat area so you guys can take a look at it or save it or bookmark it. I just thought it was kind of cool because it goes over the 4 types of framing, and you guys are going to be doing this for your assignment. So there's different techniques that you can definitely try out. So some of these are definitely really, really interesting. Here is one that is showing the framing here with, again, the environmental framing around the focal point image of these little kids in the car. You have framing around the kids here with the bushes around them. Makes the subject stand out. You have architectural elements. So it says here using doorways, windows, frames, archways, and frame mirrors. Here's one with the little archway of the, I guess it would be kind of like a little stairwell here. Here's an interesting one using kind of the framing of like the vignette with the whole window being lit up here. Door frames. Peeking into their world. I have a lot of shots of my daughter with this type of a look here. Definitely is a nice shot to get. Environmental framing shots. So think about grasses, flowers, bushes, creating a blurred foreground. So your eye goes straight to the subject here. It's kind of an interesting one. Kids in an aquarium. Why not go take your kids to the zoo and get some really interesting shots? Go out. Go to, you know, the aviary or something where you can kind of get some different shots than just from the, you know, in the house. I thought this was kind of a neat, interesting part of this article here. It says, beware that framing can also give the feeling of intruding on a moment. In this image, it gives you the feeling that my little girl is being stalked, which she is by me. Keep in mind the feeling you want your viewer to feel when looking at your images. This one in particular makes me feel uncomfortable, like I'm seeing something that I shouldn't, that she is unaware and invulnerable, not exactly the feeling I want to portray in this image. So there could be some connotations that come about too that you kind of keep in mind. Here's the opening of a bird's nest, frames the baby birds. Talks about this is her son's arms, frame his face. If using the available light or lack of to frame your subject is also effective. It is a more subtle approach to framing. Beautiful way to highlight not only your subject, but gorgeous light. Here is the light used to make a shape on the wall. says, for this example, the leaf and caterpillar are framed not only by Delia's legs, but also by the shadows and area of light. The light here makes a great shape for Sanford to snooze in. The same goes for framing with shadows or darkness. Okay, so there's some examples here, and what's nice to have supportive copy for each example, and I just thought that could be very helpful for you guys kind of going forward with your assignment 3. All right. Uh-oh, somebody has a dentist appointment. That's not good. Lily. Good luck with that. Uh-oh. Any questions so far as far as the assignment goes? I think that'll be kind of an interesting project. Hopefully you guys can capture some really interesting things. Like I said, go out. If you can, go out with your camera. Go out with, go to somewhere interesting and get some really cool shots. Go down to the city. If you live in the city, there you go. Go out into the parks. Do something opposite of what you're used to and explore. And I think that's also some of the fun parts about having a class like this, is just getting out there and looking for new things to capture. Oh, okay. You have a baseball game tonight. You should be able to get some fun pics. There you go. You have to think about, how can you get different angles of those baseball shots? Lily, I caught a picture of one of my dogs trying to peek in when my other dog was giving birth. Didn't turn out very well. Aw. That's something you have to have a very, be very quick on. The shutter speed has to be very fast because there's little, just like kids, goes very quick. Peek in the door. Aw. Yeah, so think about, a lot of picnics are going on nowadays. People are going outside, swimming, baseball, just going out, like I said, to the zoo or somewhere where, you can get out and get some really interesting different shots and experiment. Just make sure that you're getting the best shot that you can, the sharpest, best lighted shot, because it's easier to go from a really good quality image to enhance than going backwards. Like you can only do so much before degrading and taking away from the photo itself. Too hot here for picnics or zoos. Go to a water park. Even if you're inside, if you know somewhere that has really good lighting coming in and you're in air conditioning, but it's, somewhere very interesting. Like I know there's a lot of historic buildings around Pittsburgh that are really, really neat and great places to take photos because of the big windows. Yeah, go out in the evening. Yep. Yeah, remember, no problem. Remember the best times to take pictures are, in the wee hours of the morning or in the evening, just because the lighting is, you have that golden time, that golden lighting time. All right, well, that's pretty much what I have for you guys today. If you guys don't want to, if you guys don't have any questions or want to share anything, then I'm going to wrap it up and we'll get into your assessment 3 information tomorrow. There you go. You have amazing sunsets there. You gotta take advantage of that. All right, so no questions or anything you want to take a look at? All right. All right, go out and have fun. Get some stuff going. I will put the optional critique board, I'll put it in week 4. And just remember that it's in week 4. I have to put it in one of the weeks. It can't just kind of continue into the next week. So I'll just put it in week 4. If you guys are taking pictures and want you guys to share that with your fellow students and myself, you can post it in there, you know, for some critique feedback. So kind of be aware it's going to be in week 4. All right. All right, guys. Well, have a wonderful day. Enjoy, and let me know if you have any questions going forward. I will be here same time tomorrow. Thank you, guys. And I'll talk to you soon. All right, guys. Have a great day. See you tomorrow. Bye, guys.